You're listening to the Let's Go Buffalo podcast, your new favorite podcast for everything Bills and Sabres. Oh, what's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Let's Go Buffalo podcast, your favorite podcast for all things Bills and Sabres, with the pals Nigel, Tom, Jake, and a bonus pal, Mr. Dana, tonight. Episode 52 coming at you. You know the drill, folks. Don't forget to follow the socials. You can find us at Let's Go Buff Pod. That's Buff with 2 F's on Instagram, X, YouTube, and TikTok. Let's get around the horn here and say hello to the fellows. Tommy, how we doing, buddy?
Man, I'm fantastic. We have the whole squadron tonight, and I'm about it.
Yeah, buddy. We got the whole crew this evening. The whole crew is with us. Mr. Jake, how we doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Yeah, the whole squad's here. I was in Boston over the weekend. I've showered about 6 times trying to get the smell off me, but I think I need one more. That's
a stench that will never really go away. I don't think. Living in Massachusetts for a year, I still feel like I stink. So it is what it is. And then our bonus guy this evening, Mr. Dana. Dana, how we doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Always happy to be here. And funny enough, I was also in the city of Boston last weekend and also smelled the stench, but I also ate some really good seafood. So that was probably some of my doing.
I mean, that's a little stench right there for you.
Yeah.
Crab legs? Did you get the crab legs?
I didn't, but I did eat some oysters and some lobster.
Yeah,
Nice, dude.
There's a nice thing about being close to the coast. That's a big change. Yeah, that's nice. One of the nice things about Boston. All right, Boston.
And one of the you can't really get any better than that place too. So,
No.
well, folks. Wait a minute, fellas. Where am I going here? Can we start off with a beverage? Is that all right?
Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Please.
Sorry, Tom. I didn't mean. Tom, I would never. I apologize, buddy.
It's been a day, buddy. Come on.
All right, boys. Ready? I'll give you a countdown. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Let's see here. Anybody dying to go first? Jake, you seemed like you were excited earlier. Yeah, look at that hand.
I would like to go first. So I'm following a new plan where I'm only having one drink when we podcast. So I got one drink while we podcast.
Good job, buddy.
No, so I went to trivia night last night for the first time ever. Guys, I won trivia.
Oh,
Dude.
hell yeah. Dude.
Congratulations.
And so the prize was each of our teammates got to bring home a crowler of beer from Union Street Brewing in Hudson. And my wife cannot drink beer, so I got 2 crowlers out of that deal. So this is a summer IPA, not too heavy on the ABV, nice and light, not too milkshakey. It's a bop.
Can we be honest? Was it really actually Megan who won trivia night?
I pulled my weight. She's way smarter. Like there was a round where you have to identify people from just their faces, and I was like, I got nothing. I got Jason Bateman. Other than that, I was like, Megan, this is you. This is your category.
That is up her alley. Yeah, dude.
Anyways,
Jake, what were some of the questions that you answered? Do you remember?
Oh man, some of the questions. Well, we got
Trivia night round 2.
Treaty of Manila. When was that signed? What decade was that signed?
It's like historical trivia.
There was some. It was different categories. I'm trying to think of other questions now.
You can't. That's okay.
Let's be honest. I got carried. But anyways, it was fun.
Tommy, what are you drinking, my guy?
Good old classic Tom Harpoon, some summer style.
Nice, dude. Tom Harpoon Smith.
Hey, man. That's what it takes to get a sponsorship. I'm in.
I'm surprised that wasn't your kid's name. A little Harpoon Smith here.
That's what Katie thinks, but I was actually the one who signed the birth certificate. So,
okay, good. Well, I can't wait for that discussion. That should be a good
born
one.
on Josh Allen's birthday. Nick, middle name is actually Harpoon. It's all good.
Yeah, dude. As far as this podcast is concerned, Macy is essentially the second coming of Christ with being born on the same day as Josh Allen. So,
I love it.
Mr. Dana, what are you guzzling on over there, my guy?
Yeah, no alcohol tonight, but I'm just having a very nice black cherry sparkling water.
Hey man, that actually sounds great.
Sounds delicious.
Very refreshing.
And the can popped, which is really all we care about on this podcast.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. It's the effect. We're here for the 4D.
Well, boys, a little bit of a party foul here on my end. I am drinking the same beer 2 times in a row, but that's actually all we have that isn't like my old man's gluten-free IPAs, and I don't want to drink those on them. So I'm once again I just got another nice Voodoo Ranger here, baby.
Nice.
But that's what I got here.
That's your classic.
Solid beer. Why mix it up?
Yeah, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. All right, folks, we're going to start off with just a touch of Sabres news real quick. There's just a tiny little bit to discuss. Mr. Torpedo, would you like to take us down a quick little trot down Sabres lane?
I would, yeah, a quick little trot. So 2 pieces, both kind of having to do with arbitrations. That's the time of off season that we're in. Beck Malenstein signed today for 2 years, $1.35 million in salary. Nothing really to say there. I mean,
what position?
So he's a winger, a new fourth line winger. Traded for him from Washington, gave up a 2nd-round pick for him. So, I mean, I guess you give up a 2nd-round pick, you like to see it. They signed him for 2 years. However, that's also double the amount of time that he's been in the league. So we'll see what happens with that one.
Okay.
The other piece of news, it just got announced an hour or 2 ago. UPL's arbitration hearing was scheduled. It will be on July 29th. That's next Monday. Okay. So like it or not, within the next week, you will know what contract he has signed or has been awarded, hopefully the former. And yeah, that's your number 1 goalie. Hopefully he's not disgruntled when he comes to training camp in September. Nigel, are you getting nervous about that arbitration, or you think they'll wrap it up before then?
Man, I think they'll wrap it up. I feel like it's so rare that players really do actually go to arbitration. I guess I wouldn't be shocked if it went a little bit deep into arbitration here, or if it actually fully went to arbitration, only because I think you could see a world where UPL is like, hey, man, you guys weren't awesome to me my first couple of years here. You kind of jerked me around a little bit, or maybe my development was what I thought was the best. And I just put up the year that I did, so I want to get paid.
The only thing that scares me, last year, Jeremy Swayman went to arbitration.
Yeah, and it worked out pretty well for him, if memory serves.
$3.47 million contract. So
yeah, and I don't remember what Boston's qualifying offer was, but I don't think it was that. So
yeah.
So yeah, we'll see, man. I imagine it gets done, but
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Tommy, do you want to get us into the real meat of our conversation tonight? We're going to do pretty much the exact opposite of what we did last week, pal?
Yeah, man. If anybody's interested, go back to last week's podcast where we talked about the offense. This week, we're talking about the defense. And just a quick side note, if you guys are enjoying this podcast and this is helpful getting prepped for the season, please share this with friends and family who are like want to get ready for the Buffalo Bills season. These 2 podcasts are super important because it's really just setting the scene for what's going to happen at training camp, go into the preseason, and then roll into the regular season. So it's super awesome. This is going to be a helpful podcast. So if anybody's interested in that, please share. The exciting thing is, boys, the entire team reported for training camp today. Things roll off tomorrow. So it's kind of, I don't know if anybody's been watching on Instagram and Twitter and stuff, but all the boys are rolling in. It's kind of like the first day of school.
Yeah, buddy.
Which is all pretty exciting.
Full attendance? No, nobody missing? Is that a thing that happens sometimes?
It is. It's actually a really significant thing. Full attendance. No holdouts, no nothing.
We actually got rid of the guy who always holds out, so we're good.
That's a good point.
Yeah, no, honestly, that's a very good point. No distractions going into training camp here. No nothing. No, honestly, just lots of new, which is great conversation points. So we're going to do some quick recaps and then go into depth of kind of each position room. As just a quick reminder, some of the big offseason changes included losses of Jordan Poyer, who was cut, now signed with the Dolphins. Trey White, who was released as June 1 after June 1 designation, so we got some different cap savings or whatever. He's now signed with the Rams. And Micah Hyde, he has his contract finished at the end of last season and has not yet re-signed, so who knows, but he's also out of this room as of this moment. So some big significant names, all 3 word leaders, very impactful players. over the years, maybe not as much last year in the last few years, but big deal for them being out of the room. And the kind of the next big significant things that happened is a lot of turnover at coaching positions. Bobby Babich is in at defensive coordinator. Al Holcomb is in as new linebackers coach, and Marcus West is now the new D-line coach. So lots of new voices, lots of new faces, lots of new approaches to hopefully maybe bring some new life to a Buffalo Bills defense that has shown out during the regular season, but then fallen flat during the postseason. So I think right there, I just want to start with some talking points and just open it up for you guys. What are your thoughts on these new coaches? Is this a good thing, bad thing? What kind of changes does this bring?
So I'll jump in on this one here real quick. So I think the most important thing to remember here is that while there are a lot of new voices, Sean McDermott is still the head coach. I think at the end of the day, this is still mostly Sean McDermott's defense. So I think as long as he's still there, you have the main guy and the right guy pulling the reins of the guys that might be a little bit more new, right? While it's significant that these guys are indeed new, it doesn't make me like particularly nervous or anything like that, because I know that Sean McDermott is still there. I think that part is just so significant. I think the big hot topic of conversation as far as Babich goes right now is, will he call the plays? I would imagine he wants to. Is he ready? I think we'll probably find that out in preseason, or more importantly, Sean McDermott will find that out in preseason. I would imagine preseason is a time where, unless it's already decided between the two of them that Sean is going to start the season as the play caller, I think there's a really good shot that you'll see Babich getting a lot of those reps in during preseason, right? So, I mean, that remains to be seen, but I think that's the big hot topic of conversation in terms of Babich right now, and that's my 2 cents on that.
I agree. I think it's going to be interesting, but I think at this point, Bobby Babich is in line to call plays. He's going to. I think because he's a first-time play caller, Sean McDermott is kind of not immediately handing over the reins, which is smart, right? Let's not immediately make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. But I think it's a matter of that it's a matter of time before he will be. He's gonna have lots of practice here in training camp, roll into the preseason, and it'll be great. And it will absolutely be a collaboration. You're right that this is Sean McDermott's offense or defense. But I'm excited to have Bobby Babich in there. He's been a really up and coming coach. He's homegrown, right? Come up through the ranks here in Buffalo, worked in almost every single position room on that defense, which is amazing. And every time he touches and he gets into a position room, players play their best. So I'm excited in him now to have the entire effect on the full defense.
Remind me, who are some players that he groomed a little bit and helped develop?
Have you heard of Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde?
I'm familiar. Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yep, he was safeties coach when they were up and coming and new to the team. How about Tremaine Edmonds when he had his best year before he left and signed with the Chicago Bears? Heard that name?
I saw a clip of Tremaine Edmonds from his time in Buffalo just leveling a Dolphins player the other day. I don't know if anyone else saw that, but it was.
I did not, but I wish I did.
It was nice.
Dolphin hunter. What's another name am I missing?
Terrell
Milano.
Bernard would be the most recent one, and yeah, basically almost any player in the secondary, really. I would say he's had a hand in, most notably though Tom got it, Poyer, Hyde, and then the linebackers recently, Milano, Edmonds, Terrell Bernard. He's responsible for all of that development.
And taking players who were not premium first round touted. Tremaine Edmonds was, but all the rest of them were not. And he took them, helped them develop, helped them master the scheme and become really impactful players and some of the best at their position. So the guys, he's got a little bit of the Midas touch.
Yeah, for sure. Dana, any thoughts on any of that stuff?
No, I'm just super psyched for Bobby Babich and to see his play calling. I think he's going to actually call plays unless it goes horribly wrong in preseason. But yeah, just excited.
Cool.
Yeah.
Agreed. Let's hop over to the roster. I'm going to share it just like I did last week. If anybody's listening and you'd like a visual, come on over to YouTube. We're over here. That is the wrong. There we go. Okay, so we have the entire defense. We will eventually get to specialists, but we're gonna start here. Nigel, or actually, you know what? I'm gonna give Jake the option. Jake, pick us a position room. What position room do you want us to start with?
Thanks for
What's
throwing
going
me.
on here, dude.
Thanks for throwing me a softie.
Yeah.
I think let's build
Nothing
from
you
the
can't
front.
handle, Jake. Sorry, buddy.
That's all right. That's all
Oh.
right. It's not undeserved. I can't take a softie and turn it into a hard question. Tom, I'd like to. I've lost my composure. Tom, I'd like to start from the line and work our way back. Let's talk to me, you boys, about the defensive line.
Okay. So some new players and new additions include we're gonna kind of put D end and D tackle in the same conversation. So some new additions from the draft include Javon Solomon, edge player, and Dwayne Carter, D tackle. Some new signings include Austin Johnson, D tackle, Deshaun Williams, D tackle, Gable Stevenson, the Olympic gold medalist wrestler, is in that D tackle room. And Casey Toohill was also signed. He has started games across the NFL, and Dwayne Smoot is also added to the edge room. So let's start with D tackle, because that's in my opinion my favorite one. I'm super pumped that we have Ed Oliver off his best season ever, and Daquan Jones coming back off an injury that is more than likely going to be fine. He is a D tackle. It was a pec injury. He has been really working throughout the entire season. He came back for the playoffs, if anybody remembers. Was clearly not himself, but he's had an entire offseason. I'm expecting Daquan Jones to come back and be pretty darn close to the same as we saw him last season. Nigel, kind of looking at these D tackle room, who are you excited about?
I'm going to kind of take your question and sort of take advantage of it a little bit, because what I'm excited about with the defensive tackle group is the depth that we have this year, right? Gone are the days of giving Jordan Phillips and Tim Settle, any amount of snaps, which they truly probably don't deserve. Jordan Phillips, every now and again, you get a great pass rush up the middle that leads to a sack. Tim Settle, dude, man, when we signed him, because the story with him when we picked him up, when we signed him, was that he had a lot of untapped potential and was buried in a super, super, super deep Washington Commanders defensive line room, right? So you hear things like this and you're like, and you read the starters on that team, and you're like, oh, well, no wonder this guy's, been buried. Maybe we got a real diamond in the rough here. He was ass. So was Jordan Phillips, dude. So, now you draft a guy like Dwayne Carter, you sign Austin Johnson, you sign Deshaun Williams, and then all of a sudden your depth in the D tackle room is like, I don't know, improved by 200%. So I know you asked for one player, but that's my overwhelming prevailing feeling with the defensive tackle room right now is just the completely revamped depth. We know that Daquan Jones and Ed Oliver are absolute aces in terms of starters, but this is a defensive line that rotates like crazy. And when you've got, guys like Tim Settle and Jordan Phillips playing 30 snaps a game, you're gonna hurt. So I think that's probably the best thing that's happened for this D tackle room.
I'm excited the fact that we have legitimate one tech depth. We've always had we have a starter, but then if that starter doesn't play 100% of the snaps, which almost never happens, or B gets some kind of injury, which again, knock on wood, welcome to knock on wood season, is injured. We don't have anybody. Somebody else has to play out of position, out of a natural spot for them. But both Austin Johnson and Deshaun Williams have had starting reps at one tech. So the fact that they're depth pieces now is awesome. And especially because not only does it affect the D tackle room and the edges around them, it affects the back seven and clears up and helps our ace linebackers, which I can't wait to talk about in just a minute, sets them up for success. So I think this is one of the best jobs Brandon Beane has done setting up a D tackle room.
Absolutely, dude. Dana, thoughts on that?
I don't have too many thoughts on the D tackles, but we could shift to D end if you guys are cool with it.
Please do.
Yeah.
Walk us over.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So on the DN side, there's a couple questions that I have that's different from the defensive tackles. I feel like our tackles are really strong. Like everything you said, the depth is amazing. But on the DN side, there's a few questions, and a couple of those arise from people coming back from injuries, and a couple of those come from guys stepping into bigger roles. Talking about somebody like AJ Epinesa. So let's just talk about Epinesa first. Someone who has played a huge role for us last year, who is not on the team anymore, is Leonard Floyd, and he led all of our players in sacks. And basically now we're going to ask Epinesa to pick up a ton of that slack. And we have seen flashes of him be great, but I don't think we've seen it to that extent. So that's a question. Greg Rousseau, he did have a foot injury last year, so he's going to be coming back from that injury. I don't feel too worried about that, but you know, whenever someone gets hurt and then has to come back, there's always a question. Then you got Von Miller, who we all know what happened with that. Last year, he looked like a shell of himself. He did look like he was starting to get better in the playoffs, maybe, but hopefully he'll continue on that trajectory. But that's not a sure thing because he's older. And then, yeah, I mean, you have some wild cards. We got some guys, Javon Solomon, who we drafted, who he's kind of a wild card for me. I'm really interested to see how he does in preseason, especially. But he has some traits that are interesting and enticing for me. What do you guys think?
I absolutely
wanna go
agree. And
first?
I think the big one to start with is Von Miller. I think he's the big conversation piece here. You're right, dude. I think he came off last year's ACL or 2 years ago ACL injury. This is now the time where you actually might expect somebody to come back and look like themselves. 2 years out is, and we've seen this enough times here on the Bills. Like the season following an ACL, even if they're starting, we have never seen a player come back and look like themselves. So hopefully, Von Miller's 2 years out and maybe going to look like himself. If he's 80% of what he was when he first signed in those first 11 games when he played in Buffalo, I'll take it. I will absolutely take that. But this is a man who's incredibly prideful, right? He is absolutely a Hall of Famer. He's already sealed his way in to a first ballot Hall of Famer. But he's won a Super Bowl in Denver, won a Super Bowl in Los Angeles, and this is a man who's like has it as a goal to be the first ever to win a Super Bowl with 3 different teams. So if he really wants to come out and solidify the end of his career and his career here in Buffalo, this is the year where he needs to step up. We need to see that Von Miller that goes in and affects games and goes in and forces defenses to like shiver in fear. And how the heck are we going to deal with Von Miller again? That wasn't a thing last year. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but prior to last season, he was coming in and he was waving in front of our little noses saying, hey, I'm ready for week 1. He said that himself, right? And we all knew, okay, maybe Von Miller's being Von Miller. He's blowing smoke up our butts. And he didn't start. Okay. Kept saying, all right, I'm going to go week 4. Whatever it was. And I think he started week 6, right? I think is when he eventually started. And it was fine, except the fact that he didn't really affect anything, right? He was just a warm body out there. He happened to line up on the Buffalo Bills D-line, and in my opinion, didn't do anything until we saw the playoffs, and he did have a couple snaps that looked pretty good. He then had conversations this offseason in interviews saying, I shouldn't have started. Dude, you said that you were going to start week 1. You said I should not have started. I should not have been playing. I agree. You should not have been playing. So I'm very interested in this guy's. I want to believe in Von Miller. I have a Von Miller jersey hanging in my closet that I cannot wait to wear and know that, man, that guy's going to go in and get 2 meaningful sacks in this big game against the Dolphins or somebody, right? Like I'd want to be rooting for him. I'm not there. That jersey's staying in the closet for a couple games here until I see something. but his development, his recovery, and his impact on the Buffalo Bills, in my mind, is one of the biggest wild cards of this defense. If he comes in and can play, even like I said, 80% of what he was, that's what we need. But if he's not there, this D end room is looking awfully anemic. Nigel, what are your thoughts on the Von Miller situation? I went on a little tirade there. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. No, buddy. Everything you said is perfectly valid and correct, and I don't disagree with a single bit of it. I'm going to answer your question with a question. Let's say, okay, the sack number is set at 6.5. Are you taking the over or the under for Von Miller?
Right now, the under. Right now, the under.
Dana, same question.
My hopeful ass wants to say over, but I'm taking under. My realistic, but
yeah. Dana?
I'm gonna say under.
You're gonna say under?
Given his age.
Given his age. Jake, you want to chime in?
Well, fuck, you guys both pick the under. I'll pick the over. The man's going to come out with his quads on fire, and he's going to get 12 sacks this year.
Oh, man, I'm clipping that because I want it to be true.
Let's go.
I want it to be true. I cannot wait for you to dunk on our scared asses, Jake. I want that to happen.
So here's what I'll say on the Von Miller situation, and I'll start by saying I'm going to take the over. I'll take the over at 6.5 because here's a dude that. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm convinced that Von Miller has lost his athleticism. Von Miller wins with speed and IQ and pass rush moves. He's not a power compression style guy, right? I would argue that style of defensive end ages more gracefully than the alternative, right? Now, that also being said, this is a dude who, like you said, Tom, is a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? I don't think last season is the season that Von Miller is ready to go out on. And I myself am willing to bet on the mental fortitude of Von Miller, despite his age, right? Because I agree that is a significant factor, right?
He's 35 going into the season, just so everybody's on the same page.
And I think he turns 36 relatively early, if memory serves. At some point in the season, he turns 36, right?
Yep.
So, but that being said, dude, if somebody says set the over at 6.5, I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna bet more than anything on that man's mental fortitude. He's got more money than God. It's not like he can't afford all of the best possible care and all that stuff. So I'm gonna say over on the 6.5 sacks for Von Miller. I think we're gonna be pleasantly surprised. And if it's 7, I'm taking that from 36-year-old Von Miller 10 times out of 10, no questions asked.
I would agree with that. And I hope that they're impactful moments, right?
Yeah.
End of game, closing a game, bringing us maybe they're playoff sacks, right? Like that's where we need this D-line to make some noise.
Yeah.
Dana, did you have a thought?
Yeah, I really hope that Nigel's right, that he has that he will be able to win, because I personally look at how he wins, and in like a banged up body now, I'm not sure that he has like that twitch and the speed and the bend that he had that was elite. Like that's the way that he beat people so many times, was just bending around the edge and just being more agile and speedy than the other guy. So
yeah.
Yes, he's extremely talented. Yes, he's extremely smart. But I don't know. I'm not sure he necessarily won with his smarts. His bend was insane. So if he still has that, that'd be amazing. But the injury is crazy.
Agreed.
I'll put $20 on it right now that anybody wants to take the bet. 6.5 sacks, I'll take the over.
No, the hopeful Bills fan in me wants you to be right, so I can't do that.
Fair enough.
I'll take it. I'll take it, hoping that I give you $20. I'll bet you $20, Nige.
Are we now? We should get it on the record here. Are we going to include the postseason with the regular season?
No postseason for me.
Yeah, just regular season.
6.5.
Yeah,
just regular season. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
I'll still take it. It's $20. Hopefully, I'll be able to afford it.
I hope he gets 12 sacks.
Me too, bro. Me too.
Now, what's interesting also on this DN, before we go to another room, we're going to be here for a while. This is just so much fun. Is Gregory Rousseau does not have an extension yet, right? He's going into year 4, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, just looking for clarification. And I believe we've picked up his 5th-year option.
Yes.
We've exercised that a few months ago. So he has a 5th year. And generally, this is a time when Brandon Beane will extend players before this season, before going into that 4th season. Perhaps he wants to see, but we might see a Greg Rousseau extension. And to be honest, if not, I'm okay with that because that means the man is playing for a new contract. I would imagine, and I sure hope. I mean, I'm wearing my Groot shirt tonight. Like, I hope the guy stays, right? The guy he's a great player. He's amazing at run defense and a slightly impactful pass rusher. To be honest, the thing that would put him forward and honestly also increase his contract is more sack production. So if we can see that guy have more than 6.5 sacks, that's a huge year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, dude. I think you touched on it, Tom. And I'll sit here and tell you definitively that I want to see contract hungry Groot. Right? I don't want him to sign right now because you pretty much just touched on it, Tom. I want to see the sack production. Right? Yeah. With that length, dude, I'm just dying to see more of a quicker stab, get that separation from these tackles, dude. I know the tackles are big too, but I am dying for more sack production from Greg Rousseau. I think he's got the potential to have an Ed Oliver-esque breakout year. I truly, truly believe that. But I think that sack production, like, it's heavily going to impact his pay. Right? Like we're probably talking about it, like if he does significantly more in terms of sack production this year, we're probably talking about the potential difference in his contract. I mean, potentially $10 million a year if the sacks skyrocket.
Yeah,
maybe that's a little steep, but go ahead.
If he has the sack production, he could absolutely vie, and I'd be honestly relatively supportive of him resetting the edge market, right? Like, because he has all the other parts of his game he's got locked down. It's just the sack production that's missing. So if he comes out and shows it, and he could really set himself up for, resetting the edge market. So I absolutely agree, dude. I'm excited.
I'll say this: if he resets the edge market, I better see 15 sacks this year minimum because those guys that set the edge market, dude, they have a proven consistency of damn near double-digit sacks.
Yes.
So I better see something unbelievable if he resets the market.
Yep. Yeah, totally. I'm writing his name down for some bold predictions. I got as we're getting closer to the season here. I think he could have a fun one. So, all right. Let's move on. We've talked quite a bit about the D line. Let's move on to move back as Jake recommended. Let's go to linebacker. So, returning in this room is Matt Milano off of a broken leg. Now, in theory, broken legs are not a ligament, right? Ligament injuries like an ACL, an MCL, some kind of Achilles injury. Those honestly oftentimes affect players' athleticism, and you can really notice that, wow, this player is a different player. In theory, a broken bone is repairable, is something he can come back from and look like his former self. Here's hoping. The guy, we watched him all off season where he's had stuff on his leg. His one leg looks different size than the other because of the muscle loss. So the guy is clearly coming back from an injury. Hopefully this camp we can kind of get some news saying, man, Matt Milano's looking like he can. We'll come back and I'll open that conversation in a second. Terrell Bernard is back. Dorian Williams is back. We have added Nicholas Moreau and Deion Jones, 2 veteran linebackers, which I'm excited about and would like to discuss. We have signed from our draft class, Edefwan Ulofoshio, super fun name. Balin Spector is back, and Joe Andreessen has been signed from UB, so kind of a fun local prospect. Probably not pushing to make the team, but just a fun story. So, Nigel, pick us a player. Where do you want to start on this linebacker room?
I want to start with Matthew Goddamn Milano, Tom.
Oh,
My
say
God.
it again.
Matthew Goddamn Milano. And I say goddamn because those biceps make me say goddamn every time. Okay. I'm going to kind of group together the starters because I think the big thing for this season, at least for me, right, is the idea. And okay, I'm gonna do the negative part early, right? When you're talking about Terrell Bernard and you're talking about Matt Milano, and I bet you guys can say it with me. What's the number one concern with those two guys? Let's see if we can do it. Ready? I'm gonna count to three. 1, 2, 3. Injuries.
Health.
Yes, health, injuries. I think we pretty much got it. But yeah, dude, it's making sure those guys freaking stay alive, right? They've both got a pretty lengthy injury history. So right now, I'm gonna knock on wood and I'm gonna put my microphone right here so you can hear it. Okay, knocked on wood, and it was an even number, which is the more important thing. That being said, I think the idea of seeing these two guys get a full season together as a starting linebacker duo in this particular defense has me salivating, dude, because now we get to see the long-term plan put into action, right? We found out, unfortunately, like 2 years later after Terrell Bernard was drafted and we all shit our pants, right? Because whatever, you all know that story. But now we get to see the long-term plan, right? We got to see it for a couple games last year. The long-term plan being 2 matchup style linebackers and moving away from that traditional middle linebacker that you see in the NFL, right? Middle linebacker typically being your bigger, beefier, more downhill guy. Think Ray Lewis, right?
Think
We're
Tremaine
moving
Edmonds.
on. Yeah, Tremaine Edmonds. Moving on from that, right? And now we have 2 legitimate matchup linebackers. And when you're talking about Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard, you're talking about 2 guys that can cover with the best of them. Whether we're talking Tyreek Hill, or excuse me, not Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, right? Tight end. Not Tyreek Hill.
Unfortunately, nobody's covering that guy.
Nobody's covering Tyreek Hill. But I mean, we've seen Matt Milano borderline, I don't want to say a race, but limit Travis Kelce more than anybody else, right? We've seen it happen. We know it's possible. I think the idea of seeing these 2 guys together for a full season, it's arguably the biggest X factor in the entire defense, along with Von Miller, I would say, which is a huge one. Those 2 being healthy for 17 games, I think could make or break this team. You saw in the playoffs, right? I would have given a testicle for both of those guys to be in that game against the Chiefs last year.
That's a different game. It's a different game.
It's a different game, dude.
If
100%.
even honest, one of them was there, but both of them for sure.
Wait, can we go back
Absolutely.
to the point where you were gonna give up
Give a testicle?
That's crazy.
Yeah. Let's talk
$20
about it. Would you
a testicle. Nigel's just wagering everything at
I'm
this
just
point.
yeah, dude. You know what, man? I quit my job. I'm moving to Nashville.
Sell my
I'm feeling
body.
crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. You want that for $20 to double or nothing, Dana?
I don't want you to mutilate yourself. You need those.
All right, dude. Well, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, dude, I just think the idea of these 2 together is too exciting. You know, I think you're talking about splash play city with these 2.
Yeah.
Tom, Jake, thoughts?
For time's sake, I want to keep moving. I think you nailed
Okay.
it. You covered it all. I think talking about the depth and us running into the playoffs, trying to get AJ Klein to cancel his vacation plans with his family to come back and play against the Kansas City Chiefs resulted directly in Nicholas Moreau and Deion Jones both being signed. Nicholas Moreau was signed from the Eagles and has been a solid veteran player. Nothing really to write home about, but has veteran reps, played in the playoffs, and is absolutely a better option than like Tyrell Dodson or heck AJ Klein coming off the bench. Deion Jones, a couple years ago, if you told me that Deion Jones was signing with the Buffalo Bills, he'd be signing for top of the market money and be a clear starter. He's not that. He's had a couple years of injury. However, it's not been injuries to his lower half. It's been shoulder injuries. It's been upper body injuries. So we have a chance here of Deion Jones being able to come in and show the same athleticism because his legs are still healthy, and come back in and play in a system that's very linebacker friendly and linebacker dependent and could make an impact. Having him as depth is important. Is there anything else in the linebacker land here that you guys want to touch on before we move on to DBs.
Yeah,
Dana, go ahead. You got one?
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate, we're going to get to this later, but with the special teams changes, with the punt and kick changes, there's going to be, I think, some that to deal with. So if you're like between one or two people, if you're Sean McDermott, I feel like you would lean to special teams tackles instead of maybe a more solid linebacker, but I don't know. Well, that's just something to think about.
I agree with you. Yeah, I totally agree. So we'll see. Looking at the DB room here, the big loss was Tre'Davious White. We know that, unfortunately, he had been injured the last 2 seasons. We have not seen real Trey White since like 2021, right? It's been forever. So I'm super sad to see the guy go, but we didn't lose peak Trey White. We lost injured Trey White. We also lost not peak Micah Hyde or Jordan Poyer. They've also been banged up, put together with Scotch tape and a little bit of WD-40 the last few years, and we didn't lose the significant, impactful Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. We're rolling into this season with Rasul Douglas and Christian Benford as more than likely our starting corners. Kaiir Elam, we have some interesting talking points here. This is kind of a reset year for him. And then Teron Johnson just signs a breaking the market nickel corner contract. I think it was like $30 million. It was awesome for him. D. Delaney is in. He has a great depth piece. DeMarcus Ingram has been in the system. Daquan Hardy was a draft pick. And then we have a few players who I believe will just be practice squad players. For the safety room, because we're going to lump these two together, we have presumed starters, Taylor Rapp and Mike Edwards. Cole Bishop was signed as a rookie. Cam Lewis and DeMar Hamlin were both here, and then Kendall Williamson is more than likely a practice squad player. So my favorite talking point here is Kaiir Elam. Nigel or Dana, go ahead and jump in, whoever would like it. What are your thoughts on what this year means for Kaiir?
Dana, you want me to go or you want it?
Go for it.
All right. This feels to me like I don't know if I want to use the phrase necessarily make or break, but we're getting close to that for Kaiir Elam, right? You're gonna have a new cornerback coach, right, in the room. John Butler's gone, right? I think he was a little bit peeved that he didn't get the D tackle job, or excuse me, D coordinator, not D tackle, T coordinator job.
Put him in a D tackle.
He wouldn't do great as a T tackle. I think he's coaching in college now, if I remember right. I don't remember what school, but I think he is. I think he's in college now. So wish the best for him. But there's been some speculation that maybe Kaiir Elam, wasn't a favorite of Coach John Butler's. Maybe that's the truth. Maybe it's speculation. Who knows? But at the end of the day, the Bills invested premium draft capital in Kaiir Elam. And the results that we've gotten have not reflected that of premium draft capital. And I think you're probably, I don't know. Do you guys think it's a stretch to say make or break for Kaiir Elam this year?
I think, yes. I think it's make or break on whether or not he's getting picked up his 5th-year option, right?
Yeah.
Which then, in theory, puts in jeopardy for him his extended contract. Generally, if you're not picking up a 5th-year contract, it's because you don't believe in the player and you're not ready to kind of set yourself up with contract control. So, yeah, I kind of do. I kind of think this is the year for him to go in. I think he has an opportunity, though. I think he has an opportunity to play in a kind of a rethought through defense and have a little bit more of an impact as not the presumed starter and being okay with that and coming in and playing as the third cornerback, the first one off the bench, and not needing to start, I think will help that player.
Yeah, I don't know, man. He's gotta prove it. Now here's the thing, right? At best, Kaiir Elam is the 3rd cornerback on this team, right? So in a perfect world, we're never seeing him, right? Because
the 3rd
Rasul
boundary
Douglas,
corner, right?
3rd boundary corner, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, not including Taron Johnson. My apologies. Thank you, Dana. 3rd boundary corner after Rasul Douglas, after Christian Benford, In my head, Taron Johnson's in a separate category. So yes, I think ideally we're not seeing him. But in my mind, a guy like Kyer Elam's who's got size, whose claim to fame is, being a physical guy, right? If we're gonna keep looping in these kickoff conversations, right? Like that's an area where I would love to see Kyer Elam be like getting tackles left and right? Like, being a guy that is athletic, strong, big, in that situation where you need guys that are exactly that, big, athletic, strong, right? Because you got to be able to make tackles, but you got to be able to catch guys because the players catching the ball are going to be quick, right? That might be the area where he makes his bread and butter. If we never see him, right? And here again, knocking on wood, if Rasul Douglas and Christian Benford remain healthy and we don't see him, maybe it's not a make or break year because who can point and say, well, he has bad tape, right? But if if one of those guys goes down, knocking on wood again, and he gets significant playing time and we don't see it, I mean, he's got to be sniffing done on this team, right?
Yeah. I would absolutely agree. I think an interesting player in this room is Daquan Hardy as a rookie. He has projects to be one of the best depth slot corner depth pieces that we've had in a while. And he also has some really great production as a returner. So I think once we get to our special teams conversation, I think he's in the conversation and be able to make an impact pretty quickly.
Yep, you stole mine, Tom. I'm really excited about Daquan Hardy. He's so fast, sub 4.4, 40-yard dash.
Yeah,
he's got the 2 return punts last year in college.
Great hands.
Yep, really good hands. And if you watch him, he is small. He has a small frame, but he's similar to Teron in that he's not very heavy, but he knows how to use his body. He knows how to tackle.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think he's kind of a wild card.
Yeah, really interesting.
Looking at the same.
Go ahead.
Sorry, real quick. A little bit of breaking news here. CeeDee Lamb to hold out of training camp over contract dispute. So no CeeDee Lamb, Cowboys.
Interesting. See, that's what can happen, Jake. If we had that issue, that could happen.
It's a good issue not to have.
Correct.
All those wide receivers want to get paid.
Holy shit!
I don't blame him. I don't blame it at all. Like I would too if I had that kind of talent in that kind of situation.
Amen.
Man, the Cowboys, that's a whole other different thing. I think the Cowboys are going to be a flaming pile of doo-doo this year. Okay, looking at safety. It's looking like Taylor Rapp and Mike Edwards are coming in and being starters. Cole Bishop has been awfully quiet. Cam Lewis and DeMar Hamlin are kind of fighting for a roster spot, in my opinion. So as we're looking at this, I think we should be excited that Taylor Rapp got the extension that he did, right? He has a 3-year contract, and I don't think Sean McDermott would really vouch for a guy to be a starting safety as a guy who Sean McDermott's like a safety like whisperer. So if he didn't feel like he could play and be impactful in this defense, I don't think we would. Now, Nigel, Dana, and I were actually playing games earlier, and we were looking at the contract situation for Taylor Rapp. It's also very easy for the Bills to get out of him after this year. So if we don't see it, it's not the end of the world. Perhaps this is setting up for a Cole Bishop kind of succession plan. But I'm excited to see Taylor Rapp in a full offseason as a starting role because last year he came in and he was clearly behind Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. Thoughts, Nigel, Dana, Jake?
Yeah,
Jake, anything? Oh, yeah, go ahead, Dana. No. Oh, God.
I'm going to start talking.
Go ahead.
When I was prepping for this show, the safety position was the one that I thought was the most up in the air. I think Mike Edwards is solid. He's there. But all the Taylor Rapp footage that I've seen, especially with the Bills, I have really not liked. He doesn't seem like he knows what he's supposed to do in the spaces where he's at.
Seems like a loose cannon, right?
Yeah. And you look at DeMar before his injury, he was good. He was playing snaps and he was playing very well. And then we spend a pretty high draft pick on Cole Bishop, And then Cam Lewis has the seniority and has been with McDermott forever. You know, he knows that role really well. And then you have this kind of weird out of left field wild card if Micah comes back, you know, in like week 9 or something. So I don't know. I just think the safety position is a lot more up in the air than we think.
Yeah, I'm gonna just go back to Micah. That's what I want Micah's plan to be. I don't want him to sign right now, especially because of the muddiness we have in this room. I want him to wait, go stay healthy, stay in shape, buddy. Go enjoy your family. And if we are in need because we have injury problems coming in by mid-season, like let's sign him and bring him in and go on a run. But I don't want him to sign now. That's where I'm at with Micah.
Cool.
I think that's a great thought there. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's great that we get the 1 year out of Taylor Rapp, right? Because I kind of agree with Dana. I agree with him in the sense that his Bills footage, no thank you. But his Rams footage, I think, is good, right? So, like, you see a potential there for a player to be good. And like I think it was Tom that just said, Sean McDermott being just a secondary whisperer, right? You'd like to think, and I think it is very significant indeed that, you know, Sean McDermott saw this guy for a year and then signed him for the 3-year deal, right? So that's a big piece of it. Like I think that was already said. But yeah, dude, it's just, it makes me feel, I just feel good. I feel fine with the idea that Taylor Rapp is going to start because of the contract he signed. But I'm not nervous about it because if we need to bench him for a Cole Bishop, we can. We let him go after the season, and it's a very tiny dead cap hit. So while it's up in the air, I don't feel concerned about it because the repercussions are just so low any way you slice it, really.
Yeah.
I believe
Yeah.
Mike Edwards is a 1-year deal, right? So, like, we're kind of chilling here. Cam Lewis, I like more than Damar Hamlin personally. I think they play sort of a different game, so maybe that's not super fair of me to say. But, you know, if I had to pick one of them, you know, I'm picking Cam Lewis. So yeah, it's an interesting situation, but I just feel like the repercussions are low. It's arguably the position of the least impact on the defense. Not that it's not important, right? Because I don't want to undermine the loss of Hyde and Poyer, particularly in terms of their leadership, right? But I think collectively here, I don't think I'm saying anything crazy. If we were to pick the least impactful position on defense, I think it's probably safety. Right, and if you want
Particularly
to
with Sean McDermott having control over this defense, like the guy just knows how to get safety production. So
yeah,
I'm a little scared because it was so much fun watching Jordan and Micah play for all those years.
Oh, it was.
And they were so elite, like the best duo. When they were playing their best, they were the best duo in football. So we're missing that. That's nothing to snuff at. But you're right. I'm not concerned. I'm a little nervous, but I'm not concerned. I'm on that different spot of the meteor, you know?
Yeah, totally.
All right. So we might go a little long tonight, folks, but that's okay because we're taking next week off. So we're going to go a little long and, you know, stick with us. Specialist, we have T-Bass at kicker, Reed Ferguson cooking up a storm with Grills Mafia, and then a little competition with Sam Martin and Jack Browning. I think the big concern looking at here is Tyler Bass, right? We last year was clearly, in my opinion, his worst year. And the guy signs, I think he's the 7th highest paid kicker in the league. And he did not play anywhere near that. And we're kind of stuck with him for at least until we want to take some significant cap hits. So we need T-Bass to come back to life. In my opinion, I think that's a holder situation. Do we have a holder that he has chemistry with, that he feels comfortable with, and can be consistent? Sam Martin he's had some flashes with Sam Martin, but it hasn't been consistent. I think the wild card here is Jack Browning. I don't think we know enough, and I'm curious if you guys agree. I think training camp is when we'll learn if Sam Martin or Jack Browning's our punter. At this point, I don't think I personally have enough information to know who's the better pick. What do you guys think?
Agreed. Yeah, we know nothing about Jack Browning at this point. And yeah, training camp is where we'll get information. We know that Jack Browning took over the punting responsibilities for what's-his-face that we drafted a couple of years ago that had all those scary allegations that the Bills rightfully parted ways with, right? So it was from San Diego State. What was that guy's name? Anybody remember?
Matt Araiza.
Yeah, Matt Araiza. So as soon as Matt Araiza was drafted, Jack Browning took over those responsibilities. I haven't seen any of that tape, but I think that's significant, right? Go ahead, Tom.
I was just gonna say Jack Browning. He had better stats than Matt Araiza, than the punt god.
So there you go.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
in
What's
theory,
above God?
oh boy, that's a different podcast, Jake.
You have to go.
I'll tell you down here. I'll tell you down here.
Yeah. Give me another beer and we'll talk. So I think this is something to be curious about going into training camp here is going to be, what does this look like?
Yeah, dude. It's gonna be interesting competition. But Tom, I think you're exactly right. It's gonna, plain and simple, you can summarize it. It's gonna come down to holding. Done.
Yeah, I think it also will kind of look into the new kickoff rule, which we can talk about right now. I'm going to stop this screen share, and I would like everybody, my fellow hosts here, and everybody at home to please close your eyes and picture the beautiful Highmark Stadium. The run-out tunnels on your left. Sorry, run-out tunnels on your right. The other end of the stadium's on your left, out towards the parking lots. And we got new kickoff rules, okay? So what's going to happen with this new kickoff rule, it's going to be a very exciting new play. It's going to look completely different. This is the biggest significant rule change we've had in our lifetime. The ball's still going to be kicked from the same spot. So Tyler Bass will still be out in the same spot. Whoever's kicking, presumably Tyler Bass. All the kicking teams players, so say the Bills are kicking off, Tyler Bass is kicking off the same spot. The rest of the Bills are going to be up on the opponent's 40-yard line, so much further upfield. Picture all of them up further upfield. The kicking team.
Real quick, can we establish where Tyler Bass kicks off from, just for the peeps?
He's kicking off from the 35-yard line, the same spot as he always has.
Awesome. So it's a 35-yard line. Got it. Thank you.
Yep. The 10 kicking team players, so the rest of the Bills, once the kicker kicks the ball to the opponent, those rest of the kicking team players cannot move until the ball hits the ground or the player in the landing zone or the end zone. So everybody's staying still until the ball hits the other end of the field. The receiving team, the opponents, are going to set up as follows. There's going to be a setup zone. It's a 5-yard area from their 35 to 30-yard line. The Bills are on the 40. The other team's between the 35 and 30. They can they have 9 players that they can do what they want with. At least 7 of those players, their foot will be on the 35. And then there's 2 other players who are going to be the receivers who can do what they want. They can put them in different alignments. No player in that setup zone can move until the kick has hit the ground or the player. So just like the Bills kicking off, the opponent cannot move until the ball hits the other end. You guys can now open your eyes if you'd like. Thank you for following along. I appreciate you. All 3 of my boys here close their eyes. This is they follow instructions really well.
You told me to close my eyes, and then you said a lot of words.
I did. Did you picture it? Did you picture the crisp fall winds flowing through your hair and a very expensive beer in your hand, or no?
There's no AC in the room that I record, so yeah, I was picturing it, and it felt really nice. It felt really nice.
So here we go. There's a couple more rules here. The landing zone is the area between the receiving team's goal line and the 20-yard. Any kick that hits short of the landing zone, so before the 20-yard or outside the 20-yard line, is treated like a kickoff out of bounds, and the ball is spotted at the 40. The 40 is a big freaking deal. That's a lot of field position. Any kick that hits in the landing zone must be returned. Also a big deal. That means more kicks are going to be returned. A kick that hits the landing zone and then goes into the end zone, so rolls in, must be returned or downed by the receiving team. If it's downed, they get it at the 20. If they return it, it's wherever they get tackled. If the kick hits the end zone and stays in bounds, they then get it at the 30. If that kick goes out the back of the end zone, it goes back to the 30. So, also, the last important one is no fair catches are going to be called. You cannot call a fail catch. How does this affect the Bills, boys? Nigel, what are your thoughts?
Oh my God, dude, I have absolutely no idea.
I have good point. Good point.
It's impossible to know because we don't know what the strategy is going to be, right? Is this something where we're going to, gear towards size, right? Is this something where we're going to be geared towards speed? Is it going to be something where we need a happy medium of both? Like, we're not putting offensive linemen out there, but, are we going to put a defensive lineman out there, right? Maybe even an athletic D tackle. Is an Ed Oliver going to maybe even be on the kickoff? Probably not, because he's your starting guy. But maybe a Deshaun Williams, right? Is he going to be out there? We have no idea. We have no idea what the priorities are going to be in terms of how they want to strategize. I think it's something we could potentially see change 100 times this year. And that's not unique to the Bills, right? I think all the teams are probably going to be like, oh shit, this absolutely did not work, right? So it's a total crapshoot at this point. I think this is going to be a huge thing where training camp is going to divulge a lot, right? We'll be able to get an idea of what the game plan is for kickoffs once we see the personnel that's out there. I can't wait to see what the beat writers say. And here's the exciting thing. I think we're less than 24 hours away, because in the past, with Bills training camp, they typically start, or not start, but they have their special team stuff real early in the practice. So hopefully before too long, we will see what McDermott's plan is for this.
I think this is significant because the Bills have historically forced teams to return kicks and punts, right? They have really incurred the way that they field them and play them and kick them. They're betting on their players to make the play and get better field position for the Bills. So I think it's that same mindset will continue. So there will be some kind of emphasis on forcing a return and containing that return.
I'm excited for no fair catch. It just, as a casual fan, it just looks boring. It was time to go to the bathroom, grab a new beer, like whatever. It just was a nothing play. Yep. So I'm excited to see more action during a kickoff than there was.
Absolutely.
I have a question, and this might be a gray area, and none of you may know the answer, but you have to catch it if it's within the playing zone of the other team. Can you catch it and then give yourself up? Like slide?
Yeah.
I would imagine that would have to take place outside of the landing zone, which is from the end zone to the 20.
Okay.
Because anything in there, it has to be played. So I would imagine if you caught it in there and then just like went down, guys would just blow you up.
Well, right? I think so. Any kick that hits in the landing zone, and then that goes into the end zone.
Yeah,
any kick that hits in the landing zone must be returned. So sure, you could give yourself up, but then you're giving yourself up at the 11-yard line, and that's where you're down.
Wouldn't benefit you. It would hurt your team.
But there's like no penalty because there's no fair catches. But can you catch the ball and then take a knee?
Yeah,
which is a fair. So. Well, it's not a fair catch, but you're basically just giving yourself up. And then you're going to start at wherever that is, the 11-yard line or whatever. Yeah.
There's a lot of words here on this rule page. I'll have to reread it, but Jake knows about a lot of those words. I think you'd go down, and then you're down at the 12 or the 4 or whatever you field the ball.
Yeah. Okay. Well, forget that question. That's a very small use case. But anyway,
it's all good. I think what's interesting to looking at training camp going into the Bills, going into training camp here is who's on this field, on this return team. How are they going to try and approach it? I'm interested in see who's going to be kicking. Is it T-Bass or is it a different player who might be a better tackler? And I think that's the things to look out for. Do you guys have any other thoughts here, or should we get on out of here?
Excited to see it.
Here we go. Training camp this week. All right, folks. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Here we go. Adios. Have yourselves a nice evening. Thank you all from the bottom of our hearts for spending some time with us. Please give us a like and a follow on Instagram, X, TikTok, and our YouTube channel at Let's Go Buff Pod. These are my pals, Jake and Nigel. My name is Tom, and you're listening to the Let's Go Buffalo podcast. We're sending you love wherever you are. Go Bills. Go Sabres. Let's go Buffalo.